Hey boys, it's HarmNone. Today we're going to be customizing the brand new Vapid Firebolt ASP. This has just been released into GTA Online, and I'm very excited to give it a customization. It is in the off-road category, so we may have a new best off-roader on our hands. I guess we'll just have to see though. So anyway, let's go ahead and start customizing. Alright, and to get things started, we're going to go all the way up on the armor. We're also going to go all the way up on the brakes. We're going to go all the way up on the engine as well, and we're going to go all the way up on the transmission and the turbo as well. For the suspension, I think that I am probably going to keep it raised up, at least for right now. We'll see what else we can do to this vehicle. Let's go ahead and start off with the bumpers. We got two options. Wow, that's awesome. Well, we'll go for the secondary bumper because I think we might be able to do a cool like two-tone with the car, but I guess we'll see. Let's have it. Wow, a secondary rear bumper or a carbon rear bumper. Awesome. Guess we'll go secondary. For the chassis, we can go for a rear roll cage, a utility roll cage, a rear cage with a fuel cell, or a bed rack. Not really a super fan of any of these. If I'm gonna go for one, it's gonna be the rear roll cage, I think. But even then, I'm not a super big fan of it, so I think I'm actually just going to leave it with nothing in there. For the exhaust, we do have quite a few different options here, which is nice to see. I think I'm probably going to go with the dual exhaust. Not the titanium one though. We'll go for the, actually, you know what? No, I think I'm going to go for a single, and I'm just going to go for the chrome exhaust. Kind of like the look of that. It's kind of basic, but I kind of like it. For the grills, we got a bunch of different ones here. We got a bunch of horizontal ones. We got 3 mesh ones, and of course we have a bunch of hexagon ones as well. I think I'm going to go for the hexagon or the mesh in painted. I think in the painted, the painted mesh grill looks pretty good, so we'll go for that option for right now. For the hoods, we have a cowled hood, which is pretty cool. I might go for that right off the bat. I'm gonna throw that on. Or we got the cowled intake hood. I kind of like that better actually, so we'll go for that one. We also have the twin intake hood, which is pretty cool too. The twin vented hood is also nice, and we got the performance hood too, which is actually kind of nice too. And then we got a bunch of blowers and stuff like that. I'm pretty happy with my cowled intake hood though. I'm gonna go for that one. For the lights, we're gonna go xenon, and for the neon kit, I will just throw one on, but in the white color because I don't really care for it to be seen, but it does help with the performance ever so slightly, so we will go for it. We also have the black double stripes, and we have the navy double stripes. That's pretty cool. I might go for that option. We have the sports stripes. We have the parts hauler livery as well. Oh, I guess that's right there in white. Let me just quickly change the color so we can see these a little bit better. Let's just go for a silver for right now. We'll go silver on the primary. Okay, back to the liveries. We got the black double, navy double stripes. We got the sports stripes. We got the parts hauler. I kind of like that. I kind of like the parts hauler. That's kind of sweet. We got the flag bearer as well. We have the Vapid Classic. We got the hot rod two-tone, the drink US Americana, interesting. Got the flames, got the special recon camo, and back to none. I might go for the parts hauler, or I'm gonna go for the navy double stripes. I kind of like the navy double stripes though. Those are kind of cool. So I'm gonna go for that option for today. For the mirrors, we could go secondary, or we could go carbon, or we could keep them stock. I think I'm gonna keep them stock though. For the plate, yellow and black. For the respray color on the vehicle itself, red looks pretty interesting. Maybe a Saxon blue is based off of a Ford Lightning, and I feel like Saxon blue actually works pretty nicely there. Maybe a Mariner blue though, just so we can see the stripes a little bit better. Kind of like that, kind of like the look of it. Maybe we'll go Mariner. And for that secondary color, what does that do? Oh, right, it does the secondary options, of course. Do we just double up on the Mariner, or do we try to go for something a little bit different? I don't know. Maybe Mariner and Saxon blue? I could kind of mess with that a little bit. For the interior, we'll go for the same blue, I think. We'll go for a Mariner blue for the interior. Kind of like that, paint matched up a little bit there. For the side skirts, we get the tube steps. We have the slat steps. We got the drilled steps, the stinger steps, the utility steps. I think I'm just gonna leave it stock, honestly, because I don't really like any of these, and I also don't see why you would need steps on this truck. It's so low to the ground anyway, so we'll leave that alone. Got the low level ducktail, we got the mid level ducktail, or the high level ducktail for it. We got the track wing as well, or the carbon GT wing, or the carbon autocross wing. I'm gonna go for the low level ducktail. I don't even really want to put a spoiler on, but I want the performance increase, so we're gonna just have to go for it. For the sun strip, we could go for one on here. Honestly, don't hate it. The regular sun strip could actually be kind of cool, but I think I will probably avoid it. For the suspension, I'm debating it. Maybe I'll lower it once, just ever so slightly. And for the wheels, I will go into the off-road category, and we will go for my favorites, which are the concave Rally Masters. Okay, I'm not gonna lie, I'm pretty disappointed in the little like two-tone options that we've gone for, so I think I'm actually gonna change that. However, for the wheels, I think I am gonna go for a dark ivory on them just to break up the color a little bit. But for that secondary color, I will just go ahead and change that back to Mariner Blue, or to Mariner Blue, I should say, not back to. Yeah, I feel like, I don't know, it's just the two-tone thing is not gonna work out the way I was hoping. I was hoping we were gonna put a stripe along here and have a two-tone truck, but I guess not. We will do a light smoke on the windows as well, and that's about it for what we can do to this thing. Not gonna lie, disappointed in the customization a little bit here. I feel like that was pretty underwhelming, but anyways, here we go. We're gonna take it outside, and of course we're gonna do a sound test now and a full review on the vehicle. We're gonna take it on-road and we're gonna take it off-road, so it should be interesting, but let's go ahead and take a listen here. I think it has the exact same sound as the Dominator ASP, if I'm not mistaken. So that's pretty interesting. It's kind of weird to hear it in a pickup truck format, but it is pretty cool nonetheless. I guess they both are ASPs after all, so kind of makes sense. So the Vapid Firebolt ASP, let's find out what this thing is all about. So far, it's been okay, but I haven't really been driving it very hard, so we're going to find out if this thing is actually any good at all. So far, I mean, it's definitely not that fast, but it's also not incredibly slow either. So it's kind of, I don't know, it's kind of middle of the pack feeling as it stands right now to me. We will take it off-road though and see how it does off-road, and that will probably reveal quite a bit about it. But it's decently fast. Another thing I wanted to test out super quick is I want to find out if this thing is all-wheel drive or not. And it does not. Oh, I think it is actually all-wheel drive. It's just very slightly front-wheel drive. We will have to test this out a little bit further by putting those front wheels up in the air, so we'll do that in just a little bit, but for right now we're going to just drive this thing around and see how it does. So far it's feeling pretty good, not gonna lie. I am actually kind of enjoying driving it. It does seem to be cornering quite well. It's actually quite balanced as well, which is really nice, honestly. I was not expecting that. This thing's actually hauling ass in these corners, I'm not gonna lie. This is kind of crazy. I'm kind of really impressed. If the suspension was even lower too, I feel like it would probably be even better than it currently is, which is very good. I'm actually super impressed with this. So that's really cool. The Firebolt ASP is actually feeling really nice to drive, I must say. And now that I picked up some speed, it's actually maintaining it pretty well and pretty consistently. All right, so I'm going to take it up this road and we're going to just see how it is doing here in an off-road section and an off-road environment. So far though, I'm actually quite impressed with this thing. I'm not, sure that it's going to be like the next fastest off-road car in the game, but it's feeling pretty good. I definitely do think there are vehicles in GTA, like the Draugr, for example, is one that comes to mind, that are just going to be probably better at like climbing and things like that, because I do feel like the all-wheel drive split is probably a bit more on the Draugr. And what I mean by that, if you're confused, is I feel like the Draugr probably is sending more, closer to 50% of the power to the front wheels, whereas I feel like this thing is sending like maybe like 5 to 10%, if that. To the front wheels. With that being said, it's still climbing, and it's still climbing pretty well. You don't need much to get a car to climb in GTA, but there's definitely not a whole lot of power, if there's any, going to the front wheels on this vehicle. It definitely does feel like there is some though, so that is something that I think is happening. I'm just not 100% sure on it yet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to get this truck to go over a ledge here, maybe. Okay, so as you guys can see, that wheel is totally free over the ledge, and I'm gonna go ahead and press on the gas here, and you can see that this thing actually has no power going to the front wheels at all. This thing is purely rear wheel drive, which I gotta say I'm pretty impressed about, actually, because the Ford Lightning in real life is rear wheel drive, which this truck is based off of heavily, but it's feeling really good in GTA, despite being rear-wheel drive only. Like, it climbs pretty well, like quite convincingly, honestly, and it handles really well too. For a vehicle that doesn't have like a lot of downforce, you know, something similar to like the LM87, obviously a pickup truck is not going to be anything like that, but it actually feels pretty good in the corner, so I am really impressed about that. I do want to take this thing over to the canyon and just see how it does over there, because I think that is going to be an interesting test for the vehicle. But it is feeling really, really good right now. I'm not going to lie. I really like this thing. And it's not too bad. It's really not too bad. It's very bouncy on these in this off-road section here, which is cool. I do feel like the suspension absorbs a lot of bumps really easily, so that is a very good thing to see. So anyway, I'm going to drive to the canyon. I'm going to cut the video here and we'll go over there. All right, and here we are entering into the canyon. And we're going to see how this truck is actually going to perform here. So far, so good. It's been fine all the way up to over here, which is nice. And I'm pretty impressed with the Firebolt. I think it is actually a very, very good truck. I do wish that I raised the suspension all the way up. I wish I didn't lower it just that little bit, because I feel like for the off-road part it would be better, but on-road it seems like it's really, really good. So I am kind of glad that I did lower it for that aspect of this test and review. But yeah, you might want to consider doing sort of an option that's kind of the best of both worlds, which I would say the lowered suspension would probably be that, because this thing does do really well on-road, and you're going to be driving on-road more often than not, so you may even want to consider lowering the suspension more than I did. But so far, so good. I'm really impressed with this truck. Obviously, just kind of lost it there, but I do really feel like this thing is pretty good. Now, let's talk about the money for the vehicle. Now, this thing is more expensive than the Declasse Draugr, even without the trade price, which is kind of insane to me, because I do think the Draugr is a much superior off-road vehicle. However, I do think that this thing is pretty good on-road, but I don't necessarily think it's better than the Draugr. And this thing is also more expensive than the Canis Terminus, which is a formidable vehicle in any regard, on road or off-road. Whatever you want to throw at it, the Terminus is going to destroy. This thing, not so much. I'm not super convinced about it off-road. I do like it. I feel like it's handling really well and everything like that. But for just under $1.9 million, it's kind of a lot of money to ask, in my opinion. I think that's really, really expensive for what this vehicle is. Now, if this thing was more in the neighborhood of like $1.2 million, I would say this is probably like a no-brainer to pick up. But at this point, unless you're getting it on sale, I don't really know that this truck is super worth the money, especially when you could buy a Canis Terminus or a Declasse Draugr and get better on-road and off-road performance than this vehicle. I'm not saying this thing's not fun, I'm not saying I don't like it, but I just can't really justify telling you to buy this when the Terminus and the Draugr actually exist. But anyway guys, that's pretty much it for my Vapid Firebolt ASP customization and review in GTA Online. Let me know what you thought of my build in the comment section down below. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video or you learned something, dislike if you didn't, of course, and consider subscribing to my channel if you guys are new. With that being said, I'll see you guys in the next one. Until then, take care. Peace.